Their coalition thinks it is strong, but they will shatter before our strength, our devotion, our vengeance.
We will end their cruelty. We will end their atrocities. We will end their tyranny.
This is war. And unfortunately, it is not.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Invincible released a Season 5, Episode 6 trailer video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs, WTF moments here. Thragg looks like he is pissed, so we will break it all down. The most powerful Viltrumite about to commit as many war crimes as he can as quickly as he can. Robert Kirkman actually said one of the reasons why he cast Lee Pace specifically was because he was able to carry so much authority and weight with his speeches without raising his voice, like he didn't have to yell to sound scary. Lee Pace also revealed that Episode 7 is going to be the Thragg backstory episode, which will explain some of the Easter eggs that we also see in this trailer, particularly the skull that he carries around with him, that he puts it on the dais there in front of his throne. It is the skull of Emperor Argol, the former emperor of the Viltrumite Empire, that Thaedus killed, hoping that it would end the Viltrumites' pursuit of conquering the universe. After Thaedus killed him, they had the Viltrumite Civil War where they killed off half their population, basically the half that supported Thaedus' line of thought and were not in line with Argol's beliefs. Thragg was actually raised to be the most powerful Viltrumite from birth and thus became the Grand Regent. It was tasked with finding any of Argol's heirs who could become their next emperor, who was part of Argol's bloodline. What wound up happening, though, is that then the Scourge virus hit, and he abandoned all plans for looking for Argol's heir and dedicated himself to their new plan to replenish their race using people of Earth or other planets that they could find, which is what Nolan's mission to Earth was all about, to find a planet that they could interbreed with to repopulate their race. One of the really important things about humans, too, and this will become more evident over future seasons of the show, is that humans are much more compatible with Viltrumites than almost any other race in the universe. There are other compatible races. Humans just happen to be like one of the most perfect races that they could find.
So you originally came to Earth to see if you could breed with us. Jesus, Dad.
Part of the way human biology works and mixes with Viltrumite biology also allows Mark to potentially become more powerful than Thragg someday, although right now, obviously, we just saw him barely survive against Conquest, like almost got wasted by him. This is also one of the reasons why you don't see a whole lot of Mark in this trailer, because he is going to be holed up healing for the next couple of months. Like, it takes a long time for him to heal in the comics, so there will be probably a bit of a montage during this episode where they basically show that, so the Mark is able to come back by the end of Episode 7. Especially if Lee Pace is saying Episode 7 is going to be a big Thragg backstory episode in the way that we got that Episode 2 backstory for Nolan. We see a whole bunch of ships belonging to other races while the Viltrumites watch and Thragg basically call their banners to war. This is the beginning of the actual Viltrumite war, though, we're seeing, where a bunch of them leave the planet and fight in the battle instead of like just the 3 that we saw in last week's episode. This really big space battle that's happening in the background is also the Viltrumite Empire fighting the coalition forces above Telescria. Like, the idea is the Viltrumites come to Telescria. We get a real brief scene back on that planet with Mark, Nolan, and Oliver just waiting for Mark to heal. So one of the other things that happens, especially in this episode we'll see, is that Mark healing for so long, like it taking so long, gives Nolan and Oliver a long time to bond as father and son, a way they have not before, because last week we saw Oliver still had all this pent-up resentment against Nolan, and he felt like Nolan didn't want to be with him. That wasn't really the case, but Nolan, as a typical father, isn't really good at communicating with him as a son, so this is basically that chance. Just the 3 of them, technically the 2 of them because Mark is unconscious, just alone on this planet for months together. You do notice that the Coalition is able to blow up some of the Viltrumite ships. Even though the Viltrumites are all super powerful and they have a lot of lesser races who serve them out of fear, their forces are way bigger than the Coalition forces. The Coalition is still pretty powerful. They still have a lot of aces up their sleeve, like the team that they were putting together in last week's episode. We finally see Thragg flying in formation with the other Viltrumites here. There are only 6 that we actually see in this shot. There might be a couple others attacking other planets too. Basically them going after all the Coalition planets. But if you're wondering why Thragg is flying into battle here with Argyl's skull, it's because he hates Thaedus so much and wants to kill him, and just to show how over the top and weird he is, how hardcore he is. He is also very, very obsessed with Argyl. He talks to the skull like it's still alive.
To be with this skull sexually, or not to be with this skull sexually.
Next to him, we see Anissa. There's Lucan down the bottom left. There's another new one up in the top. There's one over on the right that's a little bit new, and then Craig down in the bottom right. We get another rousing speech from Thaedus, Optimus Prime, telling the Coalition forces to roll out. What's happening in this scene here is Omni-Man and Oliver just hunting together because they need something to eat, while he also gives this voiceover speech about the war that's happening right now and how serious things are while they're still on that planet, but from a different scene. And I love the way they end the trailer with this giant explosion all around Thragg, like he is barely fazed by any of this. We also got more footage of him in the previous trailers too. I think also a combination of flashback scenes and present day, with him just going on his tear with the other Viltrumites during the Viltrumite war here in this episode, in the next episode. The actual title of the episode is You Look Horrible, which was something that the alternate timeline Adam Eve said to Mark after Angstrom Levy's fight in issue number 34 of the comics, but it's also probably a reference to Mark after his Conquest fight because he literally pulled all of his guts out like a bunch of spaghetti, like Scarlet Witch would be proud. There are also a couple big plot points that they don't address in this trailer but that we know are happening in the episode, particularly following up with Tech Jacket and Alan the Alien, who were stuck on the Viltrumite ship on their way what seems like back to the Viltrumite Empire, back to Viltrum, their home planet. What they might do with that storyline is just use it so that those two characters are able to inform Thaedus what the Viltrumites are doing next. Like, oh, they've all left the planet, they're coming for us, they're coming for Telescria, so let's prepare. And they also list Michael Dorn's Battle Beast in the episode too. Remember, he's supposed to be part of the Coalition team because we saw him in the previous trailers with the other Coalition people after Mark has healed in future episodes, meaning that they probably find out where he is in this episode. Maybe Alan and Tech Jacket are able to escape at some point from the Viltrumite ship and then go find Battle Beast. Absolutely cannot wait to see Battle Beast versus Thragg at some point. And now that we have so many Viltrumites in battle with each other, there's always a question about the power scaling. Who is the most powerful Viltrumites? Like, how powerful are all of them relative to each other? Thragg is still meant to be the most powerful Viltrumite in the universe right now. Conquest was supposed to be the second most powerful Viltrumite. Mark was able to just barely beat him, giving you an idea of how much more powerful Mark is getting, but it wasn't that easy of a fight. Like, it wasn't a clean victory. Omni-Man is still meant to be more powerful than Mark right now, and Anissa is meant to be more powerful than Omni-Man, supposedly. And because Viltrumites tend to get more powerful as they get older, just because the battles they go through strengthen them the way that a bodybuilder gets stronger when he works out, only Viltrumites just continue doing that forever, basically.
Our people hit their wound well.
Keep in mind that Thaedus' age is closer to Conquest's age, like some of the older Viltrumites, because he was around when Argyl was still around, when Thragg was still a tiny little baby. So I would put Thaedus somewhere in the top 5 as well, too, like he's very powerful, but he's not as powerful as Thragg. There are also many Viltrumites that we see on their home planet that are from that batch of 50 that are still alive, that are all way less powerful than our main characters right now. Like, they're still very, very powerful, but not as powerful as the main characters. But when you're actually talking about the differences between everybody below Thragg, like there's Thragg and then everybody else isn't that far apart. So usually when it comes to winning in fights against these different Viltrumites, it's really more down to who is the more skilled, more trained fighter. That's one of the reasons why Anissa is so much more dangerous than a lot of the other Viltrumites, even though she seems younger. It's a little bit like the comp of the Kryptonians versus Superman when they came to Earth during the Man of Steel movie, where he was a terrible fighter just because he never actually learned to fight, even though he had a lot of raw power to him. The other Kryptonians were way better actual fighters, so they were able to thrash him. It also seems like one of the other subplots they're going to be addressing in the next episode is the mole inside the Coalition that's been feeding information on their plans to Thragg this whole time. The reason why Thaedus also didn't know a lot about what was happening with the Viltrumites because Nolan had to explain to him the aftermath of the Scourge virus, and that was a long, long time ago. When he left Viltrum to found the Coalition of Planets and create the Scourge virus, he assumed it would have been more effective. That's why he was so surprised when he found out from Nolan that there are as many as 50 still alive, like he expected there to be less. But you also remember that he had already been creating the more perfected version of the Scourge virus that would totally wipe out all the remainders, including the half-Viltrumites like Mark and Oliver. This is because he knew some Viltrumites were still alive, he just didn't know how many were alive. Omni-Man said that one of their real big secrets that they kept very close to the vest, all Viltrumites, were that there were only 50. But because so much of the rest of the season is so focused on the Viltrumites themselves, in the Coalition, and the Viltrumite War itself in space, I don't know how much we're going to get back on Earth with that storyline. There are like a couple running subplots on Earth, especially with Adam, Eve, and the baby, and all that stuff. Maybe just a couple quick minutes to remind people that that's still going on in the background while this is all happening, if we do a couple montages. But part of the idea is that when they do eventually come back to planet Earth, Mark has been gone for several months, and a lot winds up happening with Adam, Eve, and this baby storyline, and we probably won't see that till the finale. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, all your Thragg theories, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references in the trailer that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments. What I'm going to do this week, because there are so many episodes of everything all dropping at the same time, is that my next big video will be for Daredevil Born Again Episode 4, then my Boys Season 5 Episode 1 and Episode 2 video will post, then I'll post my full Invincible Season 4 Episode 6 video that should be up by Wednesday afternoon. I'll try to get it up as early as possible after my Boys episode, but it'll be like this through the end of Invincible with like all 3 shows running at the same time. Probably the best thing you can do to make sure you don't miss any of my episodes is be sure to enable alerts for my channel. Make sure that all alerts are turned on, and just be sure to check my channel on the days that those episodes come out every couple of hours or so, and they should be up eventually. It is going to be wild, but we are eating good right now. Hopefully I get some sleep somewhere in there. Everybody click here for all those episodes. I'll update the link as soon as I post the new ones, and click here for all my Invincible videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.